Summoned to war, these Armenian reservists are leaving the capital, Yerevan. President Nikol Pashinyan called all men into military service after fighting erupted on Sunday over the disputed region of Nagorno-Karabakh. On the front line, Armenia says it is repelling Azeri attacks in what both sides are calling a war. The last time they fought a full war was in the early 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Some 20,000 people were killed. A ceasefire was brokered in 1994, but sporadic fighting has continued ever since. Russia, traditionally Armenia's ally in the region, has called for calm.
An independent panel of experts monitoring UN sanctions issued an interim report on Monday local time showing that despite sanctions, North Korea is still selling weapons to Iran. North Korea's weapons export company Conde has been included on the UN sanctions list since 2009, yet a representative of Conde is reported to be still working in Iran. North Korea is known to use the firm to export equipment for ballistic missiles and conventional weapons. The report also said that North Korea is importing more refined oil than the 500,000 barrels a year allowed under UN sanctions. The North is reported to have imported between 600,000 and 1.6 million barrels of refined oil from Russia and China in the first 5 months of this year alone, something which both Beijing and Moscow have denied.
So she started saying all the
Hey, get on the ground, man. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Get on the ground, man. Easy. What do you say? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Hey, out. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Hey, we'll figure it all out, all right? Don't worry about it. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
We're going to get you off the ground in just a second, okay? Okay? You're all right. Relax.
It's been a little while because he's acting crazy, and so I went outside to the backyard and let him just like show up. And he was just like going irate, and he like came out of his office, cocked a gun, went back, and I was like, okay, this is like so I went to the front yard.
Yep.
Earlier this year, it seemed Argentina was ready to debate once again the legalization of abortion in this mostly Catholic country. It was a campaign promised by President Alberto Fernandez. But then, the pandemic happened. Alejandrina Barry says the government is using coronavirus as an excuse to postpone the debate in Congress. In the times of COVID-19, the green scarves that have come to represent the call for free and safe abortions have been replaced by green masks. But the goal remains the same. In Argentina, abortion is legal only in case of rape or if a woman's life is at risk. But hundreds of thousands of abortions happen in a clandestine way, using pills and other methods at home.
Now the French government has triggered the so-called white plan in specific areas of the country. But the idea really is to increase hospital capacity in view of this spiking number of COVID-19 infections. And so they are indeed planning on postponing non-essential treatment, including surgeries, including cancer treatment, and they are also envisaging discharging patients that can be cared for at home. The idea really is to free up space in healthcare facilities. France currently has some 6,000 COVID-19 patients being treated in hospital. 1,000 of them are being treated in intensive care units.
Weeks before his country's presidential election, Guinean journalist Ibrahim Abba had no intention of leaving his country. But the threat became too intense to ignore. First, missed calls in the middle of the night. Then, a voice on the other line saying, "I will kill you and your family." He fled to neighboring Senegal in hiding but defiant.
I feel fear in the pit of my stomach for my country. With President Alpha Conde running for another term in office, so many people will be imprisoned, paralyzed, or tortured and killed, and I'm not willing to accept that.
From Dakar, he continues to publish articles against the 82-year-old president who amended the constitution to allow him to run for a third term in office. A coalition made of members of civil society and the opposition known as the National Front for the Defense of the Constitution continued to demonstrate against the constitutional changes.
The Lithuanian port of Klaipėda is a vital maritime trade hub for landlocked Belarus, but this port now faces economic fallout from the Baltic states' hard line against President Alexander Lukashenko. The Belarusian strongman has threatened to reroute cargo through Russian ports after Lithuania imposed sanctions against him. So what does this mean for the port of Klaipėda? Our next report brings you more.
Klaipėda is the largest port in the Baltic state. The Lithuanian port handles more than 45 million tons of goods a year. More than a quarter of it comes from Belarus via the Lithuanian rail.
Belarusian cargo is very important for the port of Klaipėda because they account for 30% of all the cargo turnover.
Amnesty International's accounts were frozen by the Enforcement Directorate, which is an agency that handles economic crimes. The group is saying that this happened because they've been critical of the Narendra Modi government. This happened weeks after a report came out talking about the complicity of the Delhi police in riots that took place in February, where 53 people were killed, mainly Muslims. The organization has been targeted for about 2 years now, and most often, every time a critical report comes out, the Narendra Modi government has been unhappy about reports that the organization has done on Kashmir, of human rights abuses there, especially after the abrogation of Article 370 earlier this year. And supporters of the government have reacted with glee because they believe that organizations such as Amnesty International basically tarnish the image of their country abroad.
The ousted Sudanese president Omar al-Bashir ruled with an iron fist for 30 years until his overthrow last year. He now faces charges of genocide and crimes against humanity. And while legal proceedings against him are currently ongoing, Sudanese exiles around the world are now beginning to return in a bid to help their homeland emerge from 3 decades of autocratic rule.
Now, still on electricity, last week City Power cut off the electricity supply of over 200 residents in Dainfern in the north of Johannesburg, where it said it was owed millions in revenue. The utility will continue with its clampdown on businesses and upmarket suburbs to recover millions of rands in unpaid electricity bills.
Yeah, look, what we did in Dainfern is nothing unusual because this is part of our revenue collection efforts as the City of Johannesburg and the City Power. And we are not only doing this in the suburbs or in the townships. In the past, when people thought of illegal connections, the first thing that comes to mind were the people in Alexandra, the people in Nazia, the people in other areas like Soweto. But we have since realized that, in fact, behind those high walls and gated communities, there are people that are actually tapping into our network, into our system.
Caught in Gold Coast waters and tagged with a custom-made shark camera. Back in the water. giving Griffith University researchers a huge insight into what this bull shark gets up to, and more specifically, where she goes and why. The camera automatically pops off the shark and floats to the surface after around 19 hours.
And once that happens, we'll get a notice and a signal from the satellites, and then we'll have to go out and find our tag and download it.
The easiest place for them to put the cameras on bull sharks is here in the Broadwater, but it's hoped they'll be able to expand to other species off our local beaches as well.
So we can figure out what the larger sharks are also doing as well as the smaller ones.
But it's an expensive exercise, each camera costing more than $20,000 to set up.